The stars had always been silent, but that silence was about to be shattered. Across the vast stretches of space, something was coming. A new alien fleet, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, was approaching Earth. Their ships were dark and imposing, designed for destruction. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations had already felt the heat of their power, and now Earth was in their sights. It all started with a strange signal. A deep, rumbling message broadcast from an unknown location. It spread across the stars, reaching every corner of the galaxy. The message was simple, but terrifying. We are coming. Prepare to submit. The message echoed in the minds of every species that had once thought they were the rulers of space. For the first time in history, the galaxy felt fear. Every race, from the insectoid Xalurus to the crystalline Viant, froze in terror. No one knew where the alien fleet came from or how they had gained such power. They were a mystery until now. The message was a warning, but it wasn't just for Earth. It was for the whole galaxy, and it was clear that Earth's turn had come. In a dark room on Earth, humanity's leaders gathered around a table, discussing what could be done. The threat was real. They had received no message, no terms, just the chilling broadcast. The United Earth Coalition, humanity's governing body, scrambled to assess the situation. Their best minds worked tirelessly, trying to make sense of what they were facing. "We've seen nothing like this before," General Alex Turner said, his voice tense as he looked at the gathered officers. "This isn't just an invasion force, it's something worse. They have no interest in negotiation. They only want control." The room fell silent as the weight of those words sank in. The alien fleet had no history of communication or diplomacy. The only thing they seemed to understand was power. And Earth was the next target. Across the galaxy, other species were already preparing for battle. Some were even fleeing, knowing that no army could stand against this new threat. But Earth had no choice but to fight. It had always been the underdog. Now it had to stand and face the darkness of space. As the world watched in fear, the United Earth Coalition made a decision. They needed to assemble a fleet, but the question was, how? Humanity was still recovering from previous conflicts. The fleets of Earth were small compared to those of the other civilizations. They had technology, yes, but it was far behind that of the unknown invaders. What if the legends are true? Admiral Maria Ortiz asked quietly. Her voice was soft, but her words carried a heavy weight. What if the old warship, the Spectre, is still out there? Everyone in the room turned toward her. The Spectre was a name that had been whispered in stories, passed down through generations. It was said to be the ultimate warship, built by humanity during a forgotten war. But it had disappeared, along with most of the ancient fleet, centuries ago. Some believed it was just a myth. But now, with the alien fleet approaching, could it be real? General Turner's eyes narrowed. If the Spectre is real, we need it now more than ever. But finding it, that will be a challenge. No one knows where it is, or if it even exists anymore. But Admiral Ortiz wasn't so sure. The rumors, the old stories, there had to be some truth to them. The Spectre had been humanity's final hope in their greatest war, a war that had taken the lives of millions and left Earth broken. But if it still existed, it could be humanity's last line of defense against the alien fleet. Meanwhile, the alien fleet continued its approach. The message had been sent, and now the time was coming. With every passing moment, the galaxy grew more anxious. The Xalurus, known for their vast ships and enormous firepower, began to prepare their defenses. The Viant, a peaceful race of thinkers, mobilized their fleets in a desperate attempt to understand their enemy. But despite their efforts, nothing seemed to slow the alien advance. Back on Earth, humanity's best minds worked day and night, searching for the Spectre, but it was like searching for a ghost. No one knew where to look. Was it buried under miles of Earth's oceans, hidden in the craters of the moon? Or was it somewhere far beyond, waiting for the right moment to rise again. As the alien fleet drew nearer, Earth's leaders faced a harsh reality. There was no time left. Their only hope lay in the ancient ship, the Spectre. The clock was ticking, and humanity's survival depended on it. But in the deep silence of space, the alien fleet was growing closer. They were coming, and once they arrived, the galaxy would never be the same again. In the quiet control room, General Turner stared at the monitor, his mind racing. The Spectre was humanity's only hope, and they had to find it before it was too late. The fate of Earth, and the galaxy itself, rested in their hands. The stars had always been silent, but now they were about to witness the most dangerous battle in history, and humanity's final stand had just begun. The galaxy was holding its breath, waiting for what would come next. Earth's leaders knew time was running out. Every second that passed brought the alien fleet closer, their ships casting long shadows across the stars. The fear was palpable. The mysterious invaders had already struck terror into the hearts of every species that had received their broadcast. They had been warned, but no one knew what to expect. Would Earth survive? The fate of humanity, and possibly the entire galaxy, rested on finding the Spectre. Admiral Maria Ortiz paced in her office, her mind racing through every possible lead. The Spectre, an ancient warship spoken of in hushed whispers, had been nothing more than a legend. There were no records, no blueprints, no evidence that it had ever existed outside of stories. Yet, the feeling in her gut told her that the Spectre wasn't just a myth. It had to be real. But where could they find it? Ortiz's fingers brushed the old map that hung on the wall, showing Earth's forgotten territories. Many of the places marked on the map were old military bases, long abandoned and nearly erased from human memory. Some were underwater, others hidden deep within the mountains. But one place stood out, an area known only as the Lost Zone. The Lost Zone had been sealed off during the great wars of the past, a place where humanity's greatest secrets had been kept. Could it be there? The Spectre could be hidden in the Lost Zone, buried away from the eyes of the world. Admiral Ortiz knew it was a long shot, but it was the only lead they had. She quickly called for a meeting with General Alex Turner. They couldn't afford to waste any more time. "General, we have a problem," Ortiz said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "We've run out of options. The Spectre, it might be real. It could be hidden in the Lost Zone." Turner frowned. The Lost Zone. That place has been sealed off for centuries. No one's been able to access it. You're saying that's where our hope lies? "Yes," Ortiz replied, her voice full of conviction. The Spectre was a warship designed to be the ultimate weapon. It could still be out there, waiting. But the Lost Zone, it's dangerous. We'll need every resource we can spare to get inside. The general nodded slowly, realizing the gravity of the situation. The alien fleet was closing in on Earth, and the time for searching had almost run out. If they couldn't find the Spectre, humanity might not survive. "We'll organize a team," Turner said, his voice firm. "We'll send the best we have to the Lost Zone. If the Spectre is there, we will find it." As preparations began, the atmosphere on Earth grew tense. People watched in fear as the alien ships approached, their massive forms now visible through Earth's telescopes. There was no more time for uncertainty. The planet's fate hung in the balance. The Spectre was the only thing that could stand up to the alien fleet, but getting to it would be no easy task. The team of soldiers, scientists, and engineers assembled quickly. They were the best Earth had to offer, but even their combined expertise couldn't promise success. They were venturing into the unknown, and the Lost Zone was no place for the faint of heart. It was a maze of ancient military bunkers, toxic landscapes, and hidden dangers. Many had tried to enter the Lost Zone before, but none had returned. Yet this team had no choice. The Spectre, if it truly existed, was humanity's final hope. They had to get inside, no matter what it took. As they prepared for their mission, General Turner stood before them, his face grim but resolute. "This mission is critical," he began, his voice steady. "The Spectre could be our last line of defense. We cannot afford failure. Earth is depending on you. We are counting on you to bring us the ship that can save us all." The team nodded, determination in their eyes. They knew the risks, but they were ready to face them. They had no choice. With the ship ready and the team in place, they set out toward the Lost Zone. The journey was long and treacherous. They navigated through dense forests, across frozen tundras, and through mountains that had long been forgotten. Each step brought them closer to their goal, but also deeper into unknown danger. The Lost Zone had a reputation. Those who had tried to explore it before had never returned. The atmosphere was thick with tension, the air heavy with the weight of the past. Long-forgotten military technology was buried beneath the earth, along with the secrets of humanity's darkest days. Finally, after days of travel, they reached the edge of the Lost Zone. The area was heavily guarded by old defense systems, still operational despite being abandoned for centuries. It was clear that Earth's ancestors had gone to great lengths to keep whatever was inside hidden. But the team had no choice. They had to breach the perimeter and find the Spectre. "Prepare yourselves," Turner ordered as they activated their equipment. "We're about to enter a place that's been sealed for a reason. Stay sharp. We don't know what we're going to find." As they moved deeper into the Lost Zone, the air grew colder, the silence more oppressive. They came upon a massive, rusted door, an ancient entrance to a hidden underground facility. This was it. The Spectre, or whatever remained of it, was just beyond the door. But they weren't alone. A low hum echoed in the distance. It was the sound of machinery long dormant, now coming back to life. Something in the Lost Zone had noticed their presence, and it wasn't happy to see them. The team braced themselves, weapons drawn, ready for whatever was coming. The Spectre wasn't going to be easy to find, and it certainly wasn't going to be handed to them without a fight. As the door creaked open, they stepped into the shadows, unaware of what dangers lay ahead. But one thing was certain: humanity's fate was about to be decided. Would they find the Spectre, or would they be lost to the darkness, just like all those who came before them? The search for the deadliest warship had begun, and already the galaxy was holding its breath. The silence was deafening as the team ventured deeper into the forgotten facility, each step echoing in the vast, empty halls. The cold air seemed to press against them, as if the Lost Zone itself was watching their every move. General Turner led the group with determination, but even he couldn't shake the sense of unease that had settled in his stomach. The further they went, the more the oppressive silence seemed to close in on them, almost as if the world itself was waiting. There were no signs of life, no signs of anything that could explain the hum they had heard earlier. But something was there. Turner could feel it, and so could the others. Their fingers were tight on their weapons, their eyes darting around the dimly lit corridors. Every shadow seemed to hide something dangerous. Every turn they made felt like a trap waiting to spring. After what felt like an eternity, the team finally reached a large, reinforced door, its surface covered in ancient symbols and markings. Turner approached it cautiously, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't know what to expect behind it, but he had a sinking feeling that whatever was on the other side was going to change everything. "This is it," he muttered, signaling for the team to stand back. "This is where we find out what the Spectre really is." A blast of energy surged through the door's control panel, activating it with a low rumble. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a massive hangar, its size almost impossible to comprehend. The team stepped inside, their eyes widening in awe as they took in the sight before them. At the far end of the hangar stood a colossal ship, its form shrouded in darkness, its outline barely visible in the dim light. But even in the half-darkness, there was no mistaking it. This was the Spectre, the ship that had been lost to history, the ship that humanity had long forgotten. And it was alive. The ship's hull shimmered, almost as if it was breathing. Low hums, similar to the one they had heard earlier, pulsed through the air, emanating from deep within the ship itself. The hum was becoming louder, more insistent, as though the specter was waking from a long slumber. Turner and his team stared in disbelief, unable to comprehend the magnitude of what they were witnessing. The specter was no myth, no legend. It was real, and it was waiting for them. A voice crackled through the communication system, startling everyone. "General Turner," the voice said, static distorting the words. "This is Earth Command. What is your status?" Turner quickly snapped back to reality. "We've found it. The specter. It's real, and it's alive. But something's wrong. It's reacting to us." Before anyone could respond, a low rumble reverberated through the hangar. The specter's lights flickered on, revealing its full size. The massive warship, long forgotten by time, was now awake. The entire hangar seemed to tremble in response, as if the ship itself was alive. A sleeping giant finally stirred. "Get ready," Turner ordered. "Something's happening." As the crew members cautiously approached the ship, their boots echoing on the metal floor, the ship's massive engines came to life with a deafening roar. The air shifted with the power of its awakening, and the team felt a sudden wave of pressure, as though the ship was testing their presence. It wasn't just a machine. It was something more, something ancient, something powerful. The specter began to move. At first, it was slow. The great ship shifted and groaned, its immense frame coming to life. But as the crew watched, stunned, the ship began to move with a terrifying speed, its engines roaring to life. A series of glowing symbols lit up across the hull, and the ship's massive weapons systems powered up, the hums growing louder, vibrating through the entire facility. The team backed away, eyes wide with fear and awe. This wasn't just a warship. It was a weapon of unimaginable power. And now, it was aware of them. "We need to get out of here," Turner said urgently, backing toward the exit. "Now." But as they turned to leave, the specter's doors began to close, locking them in. The massive warship was moving, its internal systems activating one by one. It wasn't just awakening, it was preparing for battle. "Damn it," Turner cursed under his breath. "It's not going to let us go. It wants us here." The air grew thick with tension as the team realized the truth. The specter wasn't just a ship, it was alive. Its systems were reacting to them, preparing itself for something. But what? What had woken it up? And what did it want from them? Before anyone could answer, the ship's weapons systems locked into place, the massive cannons swiveling to face the team. The team raised their weapons, ready for whatever the ship was about to do. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, everything stopped. The engines powered down, the lights dimmed, and the ship fell silent once again. The eerie calm that followed was worse than the roar of the awakening. The team stood frozen, unsure of what had just happened. But General Turner knew one thing for sure. The specter wasn't just a weapon. It was a message. And now, humanity had to decide how to respond. The aliens who had dared to challenge Earth had no idea what they were about to face. The specter was ready. And so was humanity. The stage was set for a battle unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The tension in the air was thick. The team stood in stunned silence, their hearts pounding in their chests. The specter, humanity's last weapon, had just stirred to life, its immense power now fully awakened. The eerie calm that had settled over the hangar was almost worse than the roar of the ship's engines. The team was still trying to make sense of what they had just witnessed, unsure of whether to be relieved or terrified. General Turner was the first to speak, his voice low but steady. "This isn't just a ship. It's a weapon of mass destruction." He glanced at his team, his expression hardening. "And it's not just reacting to us. It's waiting for something." The air felt charged, as if the specter was listening to their every word. The giant ship loomed over them, its enormous hull glowing faintly in the dim light. Turner could feel the ship's presence, as though it were alive. its weapon systems humming, its engines purring with readiness. It was as if the ship was a predator, sensing its prey, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "What do you think it's waiting for?" Lieutenant Harris asked, her voice tight with fear. "We've only just arrived. Why hasn't it attacked?" Turner shook his head slowly. "I don't know, but I think it's waiting for something or someone. It's not just a weapon, it's a message. And I have a feeling that message is for whoever is brave, or foolish, enough to challenge us." Before anyone could respond, the silence was broken by a faint crackling sound. The comm system came to life, the voice on the other end crackling with static. "General Turner, this is Earth Command. What is your status? Report immediately." Turner quickly keyed in his response. "Command, we've found the Spectre. It's alive, and it's awakened. We don't know what it's waiting for, but it's not reacting like a normal warship. This thing, it's more than just a weapon. It's like it's alive." There was a brief pause before the voice on the other end responded. "Understood. We're sending reinforcements. Hold your position and prepare for further orders. But be cautious. If the ship has truly awakened, we need to understand its capabilities before making any moves." The transmission ended abruptly, and the team stood in silence once more. The Spectre, once thought to be a myth, was now an undeniable force in the galaxy, a force that humanity had no intention of letting fall into the wrong hands. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the hangar, snapping everyone's attention to the far side of the room. The massive doors that had previously been sealed began to creak open, slowly revealing a small group of armed soldiers from Earth Command. Their footsteps were muffled as they entered the hangar, their eyes wide as they took in the sight of the Spectre. General Turner approached them, his expression grim. "Stay sharp. This ship is alive, and I'm not sure what it's capable of. It's waiting for something big." The soldiers nodded, their weapons at the ready as they fanned out to form a defensive perimeter. The tension in the room was palpable. The Spectre was no longer just a relic from the past. It was humanity's final, most powerful weapon, and it had just declared its readiness. As the team and reinforcements stood together, the ship seemed to pulse in response. The low hum of its engines grew louder, vibrating the floor beneath their feet. It was as though the Spectre could sense the presence of new people, its immense power now fully focused on them. The whole hangar seemed to tremble with the ship's power. Turner turned to Lieutenant Harris, his eyes narrowing. "Get ready. If this ship is waiting for a signal, we need to be prepared for whatever comes next." Just as the words left his mouth, the Spectre's colossal engines roared to life, and the ship's weapon systems powered up. The air grew heavy, charged with energy, as the giant warship's guns aimed toward the sky. Its sensors lit up, scanning the surroundings, as if searching for an enemy. The ship's main gun powered up, a low hum filling the air as the weapon came online. The sheer scale of the weapon was enough to make anyone's heart race, its energy core crackling with the promise of unimaginable destruction. But then, as quickly as it had started, the ship powered down again. The guns fell silent, and the engines hummed softly. It was as though the Spectre was testing its power, making sure everyone understood its potential. Turner had no doubt in his mind that the ship was ready for war, but the question remained, who would it fight? "They're coming," Turner muttered to himself, his mind racing. "Whoever is out there, whoever challenged us, they're coming." The team waited, tense, their fingers tightening on their weapons. The Spectre had shown its power, but now it was waiting again. It was as if the ship was no longer just a weapon. It was a challenge, a message to the universe that humanity was not to be underestimated. And that message would be answered. The stars themselves would tremble before humanity's might. The Spectre was ready, and so was Earth. The galaxy had no idea what it was about to face. The stage was set, and the clock was ticking. The vast emptiness of space stretched out before them, a quiet, starry canvas. Yet, within the silence, there was something dangerous, something terrifying. The Spectre was out there, cloaked in darkness, waiting. It had awakened, and now the galaxy would feel its presence. General Turner stood at the command console, his hands gripping the rail. The cold, metallic walls of the command center felt more like a cage than a shelter. He stared at the star map displayed on the screens, the thousands of blinking lights representing ships, planets, and sectors. But his focus was on one point, a small cluster of alien fleets that had ventured too close to Earth's territory. "They're out there," Turner muttered to himself, eyes narrowing. "And they don't know what's coming for them." Behind him, Lieutenant Harris approached cautiously, a look of concern on her face. "Sir, what if they're already preparing for battle? What if they know we've launched the Spectre?" Turner turned to face her, his expression grim. "They don't know. Not yet. The Spectre wasn't designed to be seen. It's not like any ship they've encountered. We'll strike before they realize what's happening." The air in the room felt thick with anticipation. Every minute that passed was another step closer to the inevitable confrontation. Turner wasn't sure if the Spectre was ready for what was to come, but he knew one thing: it was humanity's last chance. The command center buzzed with activity as officers and technicians worked tirelessly, monitoring every ship and fleet in the region. The Spectre had been fully armed, its weapons primed for action, but the question remained: who would fire the first shot? Humanity or the alien forces? The balance of the galaxy's power was teetering on the edge, and no one was sure who would tip it over. "How long until the Spectre reaches the fleet?" Turner asked, his voice low. "Approximately 15 minutes, replied an officer at a nearby console. "It's moving faster than we anticipated. The alien fleets won't have time to react." Turner nodded. "Good. Prepare the fleet for backup, but keep them out of sight. The Spectre is our main force. We don't want them to know what's coming." As the minutes ticked down, a cold, calculating focus settled over the entire team. Everyone knew the stakes. If the Spectre was truly as powerful as they had been told, it could end this conflict before it even began. But there were no guarantees. It was a gamble, and humanity was betting everything on this one ship. Suddenly, an alarm blared, snapping everyone to attention. The star map on the screen flashed, highlighting a massive movement in the outer sector. "They've spotted us," said Harris, her voice tense. "They're turning towards us." "Prepare for contact," Turner ordered, his tone firm. "This is it." The tension in the room became almost unbearable. Everyone stared at the screen, waiting for the first sign of the enemy. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. The moment the alien fleets saw the Spectre, they would understand the true meaning of fear. Humanity had unleashed its final weapon, and there would be no turning back. But as the enemy fleets grew closer, Turner's mind raced. Something didn't feel right. The Spectre was powerful, too powerful. Why hadn't the aliens tried to engage before now? Why had they waited until the last moment to move? "Sir," said an officer, his voice tight with alarm, "we're detecting strange energy signatures coming from the enemy ships. It looks like they're preparing something, but we can't pinpoint what." Turner's gut twisted. This was more than just a battle. This was a game of survival. And for the first time, he wasn't sure if humanity would win. "We can't afford to wait," Turner said, his voice steady despite the growing uncertainty. "Activate the Spectre's weapons. Let's show them what happens when you challenge humanity." The room fell silent as the weapon systems powered up. The hum of the Spectre's engines reverberated through the walls, shaking the very foundation of the command center. The warship, once a dormant relic of a forgotten war, was now a force of nature, a weapon capable of leveling entire fleets with a single shot. The enemy fleets, now fully aware of the Spectre's presence, began to move in unison, their ships aligning in preparation for the first strike. The tension was unbearable. The air felt thick with the weight of their impending clash. "General, the enemy is about to fire," Harris warned, her eyes wide as the enemy ships unleashed their first barrage of weapons. Turner's voice was calm but resolute. "Fire the Spectre's main weapon. Now." And then, with a deafening roar, the Spectre's massive cannon fired, sending a blinding beam of energy hurtling toward the enemy fleet. The sheer power of the shot tore through the alien ships, disintegrating them with ease. The first wave of alien vessels vanished in an instant, their once proud fleets reduced to debris. But the fight was far from over. More alien ships appeared, and they were not retreating. The battle had begun, and the galaxy was about to witness the devastating power of humanity's deadliest warship. The Spectre had sent a message, one that would be remembered for millennia. Humanity was not to be underestimated. They had the power to change the course of the galaxy, and nothing could stand in their way. As the battle raged on, General Turner knew one thing for certain. The alien fleets had made a grave mistake. The Spectre had come, and it would not stop until humanity was the dominant force in the galaxy. The Spectre's initial strike had been a testament to the destructive power humanity could wield. The debris from the shattered alien fleet floated in space like a grim reminder to the invaders of what they were up against. General Turner stood in the command center, eyes fixed on the flickering screens, each showing the remnants of the alien ships disintegrating into cosmic dust. The calmness in the room felt almost surreal after the chaos of the first wave. "More ships are coming," Lieutenant Harris announced, her voice tight with unease. Turner's face remained impassive, but inside, the tension was building. The first attack had been decisive, but it wasn't enough. The enemy was regrouping. They weren't backing down, and now they knew exactly what they were facing. The Spectre's weapons had proved their might, but Turner wasn't sure how long humanity's warship could keep up the fight. "They won't stop coming," Turner muttered under his breath, a sense of unease creeping into his thoughts. "They'll send everything they have. We need to be ready." The room was alive with activity as the crew worked quickly to assess the situation. The star map on the screen now showed multiple alien fleets converging on the Spectre, their ships moving in coordinated formations. The signs of preparation were clear. This was no longer a simple skirmish. It was an all-out war. "Activate the second phase of weapons," Turner ordered, his voice steady. He knew the first wave had been a warning shot, but he couldn't afford to underestimate the enemy. "And prepare the backup fleet. We'll need every advantage we can get." The officers sprang into action, sending commands through the ship's network. Meanwhile, the Spectre's main weapon system powered up again, its pulse cannon humming with energy. But something was different this time. The ship's systems were showing anomalies, warnings flashing across the screens. The Spectre's power systems were being taxed, its weapons charging slower than before. "Sir, the Spectre's systems are under strain," one of the technicians called out. "We need to reduce output or we risk overloading the power core." Turner's heart sank. The Spectre was humanity's greatest weapon, but it wasn't invincible. He knew that the longer they kept it firing at full power, the more risk they ran of losing it. "Cut the secondary weapon systems," Turner ordered quickly. "Conserve power for the main cannon. We'll deal with the rest of the fleet with our backup." The tension in the room ratcheted up. Humanity was gambling everything on the Spectre. If it faltered now, there might not be enough time to make up for it. The backup fleet was small, a mere fraction of the size of the alien forces. They had to make every shot count. Outside the Spectre, the enemy fleets were drawing closer. The first few waves had been devastating, but now, the alien ships had regrouped and were closing in for the kill. They had underestimated humanity's power once, but they wouldn't make the same mistake again. The enemy was no longer scared. They were furious. On the bridge, General Turner's face hardened. The time for hesitation was over. This was no longer just about survival. It was about dominance. "Prepare for engagement," Turner ordered. "We hit them with everything we have. This ends today." The Spectre's massive engines roared as they powered up, and the ship's weapons fired with a deafening crack. The alien ships scattered in an attempt to avoid the incoming fire, but the Spectre's aim was true. One after another, the alien vessels were torn apart in bursts of light and destruction. But even as the Spectre unleashed hell, the alien fleets began to retaliate. Their weapons hit the Spectre's shields, causing ripples of energy to flash across the ship's hull. The backup fleet moved in formation, providing cover for the Spectre, but their smaller size and limited firepower made them little more than a distraction. Lieutenant Harris was working furiously at her console, her fingers dancing over the controls as she barked orders to the crew. "We need to focus on those cruisers. They're the real threat." Turner's eyes were locked on the view screen as more and more alien ships appeared, their shapes silhouetted against the stars. It seemed like an endless stream of enemies, their numbers overwhelming. Yet the Spectre had shown that humanity was not so easily defeated. Each strike, each shot, was a reminder that humanity had power, the kind of power that could change the very balance of the galaxy. The Spectre's cannons roared again, this time with even greater fury. The alien fleet, stunned by the devastating force of the first volley, faltered for a brief moment, but it didn't last long. The alien ships adapted quickly, returning fire with a vengeance. The Spectre's shields flickered and hummed under the onslaught, but they held firm. "We're holding them off," Harris shouted, her voice a mixture of exhaustion and relief. "But we're going to need reinforcements. They're throwing everything they have at us." Turner clenched his fists. "They won't break us. Not today." He turned to his communications officer. "Send the signal. Call for backup. This is humanity's fight now. We'll win this." The alien forces were formidable, but they had one thing wrong. They believed they could break humanity's will. They didn't understand the sheer resilience of a species that had risen from the ashes time and time again. Humanity was more than just a fleet. They were a force, and the Spectre was proof of that. Outside the ship, the battle raged on. The Spectre's weapons continued to fire, tearing apart alien vessels and leaving destruction in their wake. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. The alien fleets were strong, but they had made the mistake of underestimating the one thing that would never be broken: humanity's determination to survive, no matter the cost. The battle had raged for hours, and yet the conflict showed no signs of slowing down. The Spectre, humanity's most powerful warship, had become a symbol of hope and defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. But even the mighty ship had limits. The constant barrage of alien fire had begun to take its toll, and its shields flickered dangerously close to failing. The crew was weary, their faces drawn and pale, but their resolve remained unbroken. General Turner stood on the bridge, his hands gripping the edge of the command chair. He watched as the tactical map on the screen showed the enemy fleet, now battered but still holding strong. The battle had reached its boiling point. The alien forces, despite suffering heavy losses, were pushing forward, unwilling to back down. But Turner knew something they didn't. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't just the Spectre. It was the will of the people. "We're running out of time," Lieutenant Harris said, her voice tense. "If we don't make our move now, they'll overrun us." Turner's mind raced. He looked at the alien fleet closing in on them, their massive warships still intact despite the damage they had taken. It was clear they were regrouping for one final push, but humanity had no intention of losing. Not today. "We've held them off this long," Turner muttered. "Now we push back." He turned to his communications officer. "Send the signal. Activate Phase 3. Full power to all systems." The order was simple, but it carried the weight of humanity's survival. If the Spectre was going to fall, it would take everything the alien invaders had with it. Turner wasn't about to let them get the upper hand. He clenched his fists. "We're not backing down." The crew worked quickly, their movements becoming more frantic as the clock ticked down. The Spectre's engines roared to life, and its massive weapons powered up for the final assault. The entire ship seemed to hum with energy as it prepared to unleash its full fury on the alien invaders. The first wave of shots erupted from the Spectre's cannons, each shot more powerful than the last. The alien ships, caught off guard by the sudden surge of firepower, scattered in all directions, but it was too late. The precision and force of the Spectre's weaponry were unmatched. The alien fleet faltered as their ships were torn apart, one by one. A chorus of explosions rang out across the battlefield as alien vessels crumbled under the might of humanity's warship. General Turner watched, grim satisfaction filling him as the battle shifted in their favor. The alien forces, though numerous, were no longer able to keep up with the onslaught. Their ships disintegrated under the relentless barrage of the Spectre's weapons, their once imposing formation now in disarray. "They're retreating," Lieutenant Harris exclaimed, her voice rising with disbelief. "They're pulling back." Turner didn't let himself show any emotion, but inside, a wave of relief washed over him. Humanity had done it. The Spectre had turned the tide. The alien forces were broken, their pride shattered. The once feared fleets that had come to conquer Earth were now retreating into the depths of space, defeated and humiliated. But the battle wasn't over yet. There was still one last task to complete: ensuring the alien threat would never return. "Captain, we've received the final transmission from their command ship," one of the crew members said, glancing at the communications console. "They're asking for a ceasefire." Turner's eyes narrowed. No ceasefire. Not yet. They came here with the intention of destroying us. We won't show mercy now. The communications officer nodded, and a message was sent back to the retreating alien fleet. "Humanity will not bow. You have made a grave mistake by underestimating us. This is our final warning. Leave our galaxy, or we will finish what we started." For a moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The alien fleet, still reeling from their defeat, had no choice but to obey. The final transmission was a declaration of humanity's strength, a reminder to any who would dare challenge Earth that they would be met with unwavering resistance. As the last of the alien ships disappeared into the darkness of space, General Turner allowed himself a brief moment of relief. The war was over. Humanity had won. But this victory was more than just a military triumph. It was a statement to the galaxy. Earth would not be intimidated. Humanity's strength was undeniable. The Spectre, a symbol of the resolve and will of mankind, had shown the universe that Earth would never be conquered. Not now. Not ever. And as the crew of the Spectre stood together, watching the stars ahead, they knew that this victory was only the beginning. The galaxy would learn to fear humanity's might, and they would never forget the day they saw the human flag fly once more. The war was over. Humanity had proven its place among the stars, and the universe would never be the same again.